So I am Megan Harrison. I am the social media director at the Center of Faith and Work here at LETU University. Each month we bring you live presentations and interviews about topics of interest to Christians who want to live out their faith in their workplace. Definitely trying to bridge that gap between Sunday and Monday. And so we want to be sure that you don't miss some of our future webinars that are going to be coming up. We'll have one in mid-January talking about your plans for life, and then one in February about how to really fall in love with the work that you're doing. But today, I am personally excited to hear today's guest. Besides working for the Center for Faith and Work, I have another very important workplace, which is my home. I have a 6-month-old daughter, Cora, and this is our first Christmas together as a 3-part family instead of 2. So I'm excited to hear what Kathy has to say just as much as you guys are, because it's going to get even crazier as we add to our family. So Bill Peel, the Center for Faith and Work's Executive Director, will go ahead and introduce our guest today. Dr. Peel, go ahead and take it away.
Hey, great. Thanks, Megan. Today I have the privilege of introducing my wife, Kathy Peel, who actually happens to be the author of 21 books on life and family management. She's written hundreds of articles that you may have read in magazines like Family Circle or Parenting or Women's World or American Profile. She's been interviewed by newspapers like USA Today, the New York Times, Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, and local papers all across the country. She's also served as AOL's family coach, and I've lost count of how many TV and radio shows she's done, like all the morning shows from New York, Oprah shows, Oprah's show, Family, Focus on the Family, and lots more. Kathy speaks at events and churches around the world, and sometimes we actually get to speak together, which is really fun. So without further ado, please meet my lovely wife, Kathy Peel.
Hey, y'all. I'm glad to be here. I am looking forward to talking pretty fast this hour to give you some practical ways to save your sanity this season, but not only this season, but all year round too, okay? So I'm going to do a little technology here and share my screen, get my screen kind of ready for this thing, because so you can go with me through the slides. I think that'll be more helpful for you. And let's see if this is going to happen. Ta-da, ta-da. Okay, this is what we're talking about today. Balancing life's demands. Strategies for less holiday stress. But also, the things we're going to talk about today, they're going to help you with stress all year round, okay? So here we go. We're going to talk about stress savers for the holiday season, strategies for managing all year round. And it's like, I don't know where you're coming from today. Some of you have one full-time job at home, because running your home, raising kids, that is a full-time job in and of itself, okay? Some of you have another job. It may be another full-time job. You may have another part-time job. Just know that it takes about 32.5 hours to keep some semblance of order in a home for that family manager job. So if you have a 40, 50, 60-hour a week job on top of that, you're working a lot of hours. And so you've really got to manage well. If family management is your one full-time job, you need to see it for the important job that it is, because it is, I believe, the most important job in the world. So what is going on in your life today? Maybe you've joined us live or later. You're just listening later and you just need a few ideas. That's okay. Maybe you've got things pretty much under control, but maybe you feel pretty overwhelmed right now. You just kind of don't know where to start, or maybe you even feel desperate. And y'all, desperation a lot of times is not a bad place to be, because it's then. Sometimes we have to get so desperate that that's when we turn to God. And I just want to remind us all that God cares about every detail of your life. And you may be thinking, yeah, I've heard that before, but I've got mountains of laundry. I can't even get near my washing machine. There's so many clothes there. And I've got so much to do. I don't even know where to start. There are not enough hours of the day. And I hate to bother God because, he's busy all over the world doing important things. But gang, I want to tell you that he cares about every single detail of your life. How do I know that? Because of Matthew 10:18, which says the hairs on your head are numbered. So what does that mean? That means that God has to recount every day. And I want you to remember that when you see, pick up your hairbrush, or you guys, see a hair in the sink, you think, oh, I couldn't afford to lose that one. I just want you to know that God has just recounted. And he cares about the intimate details of our lives. And he wants us to bring our burdens, bring our Christmas burdens to him, okay? So don't be afraid to do that. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about a management strategy. And before we get into the specific holiday things, I need to give you some context about managing your home and family, because you're going to be managing this specific season, but I need to give you some context first and get your head around the idea that somebody's got to be the family manager and manage the most important organization in the world, okay? If you are the family manager, and I'd say most times it's mom, but not always. 16% of the homes in America, dad is the family manager. And this is not about gender. This role is not at all about gender. It's about being wise, about who's got the right skills and the time to do it. And so I just want you to see it as a very important job, no matter who does it. Now, in the Peel household, I'm the family manager. Bill's chairman of the board. We kind of co-manage things. Every family's going to figure out their own way, okay, to do this. But biblically speaking, Bill is the head of our home, but I'm our family manager. We're a team and work at this together. But I want you to see the job description of the family manager. And if you are that family manager, here's what you do. I oversee the most important organization in the world, where hundreds of decisions are made daily, where property and resources are managed, where health and nutritional needs are determined, where finances and futures are discussed and debated, where projects are planned and events are arranged, where transportation and scheduling are critical, where team building is a priority, where careers begin and end. I am a family manager. And if you've ever thought, if it's ever crossed your mind, oh, I'm just, I'm a stay-at-home dad, I'm a stay-at-home mom, I just run things. I want you to not think that again. I want you to know that you are running the most important organization in the world. So part of our management strategy context here is that there's a job description for the family manager, and every family's got to decide who that is going to be. One of my best friends in the whole world, she's a physician. She's an OB-GYN, and it makes a lot more sense for her husband to be the family manager. Okay, so remember, it's not about gender, but it's about somebody needs to be the family manager. Your family, just like any organization, needs to have a mission. You need to think about why God has put you on earth, why he's put you in this family unit. God created the family, and he's put you together for a reason. And I want you to have vision, especially if you've got children and if you've got small children. It doesn't matter where you are in your journey, but let me just say this. If you have small children, I want to suggest that you do something Bill and I did. Gosh, it's been about 40 years ago now, but we made some breakfast engagements. And you think you scheduled a meeting with your husband to meet at breakfast? Well, yeah. And if you have small children around, you know what I'm talking about, because it's hard to have an adult conversation with a lot of small children around, or even one or two. And we sat down at a restaurant for 6, I think they were Mondays. I would drop off our boys at either Mother's Day out or preschool or wherever they were. And Bill and I envisioned the future. We envisioned our boys, our 3 boys who are now 43, 39, and 32, and they've lived through these family manager concepts. But we envisioned what we wanted them to take away when they left home. What kind of memories, what values did we want them to take? Not that we could control that completely, but there were things that we could do. And we made a plan on what was going to be most important for us as far as what we wanted to teach them about faith, about values, about what's most important in life, and what family memories we wanted to make. So if you start thinking in this management kind of mindset, you realize that every organization has a mission. Just like LeTu University has a wonderful mission. It has a vision and it has goals of how it, stays on that list of U.S. best colleges every year, U.S. News and World Report that it puts out every year. And every organization has a mission, vision, and goals. I can't tell you what those are. I can give you some guidelines, but you need to schedule some time and sit down and think about that. Okay. And if you're a single parent, you need to do that as well. You might get together with a good friend or someone at church and say, you know what, I just need somebody to bounce ideas off because I want this family that God had given me to run as a single parent. I want to know what our mission is. I want to have vision and goals. And I bet that there's somebody especially at your church or a Christian friend who has like values, who would love to sit down with you and just brainstorm with you. So next management strategy is build a team. Being the family manager is not about doing everything yourself. Just like in any organization, there's not one person, it takes a team. And so I want to give you some strategies today for getting your family to work like a team. We'll talk about that specifically because we're kind of under the gun here time-wise for the holidays, but you want to do this all year round. You want to work as a team because your highest goal, really, as a family is to help each other do the will of God. You can bank on that. That is your highest goal, okay? We'll talk more about that later. But part of being a good manager and part of being building a strong family that communicates well is being willing to communicate and negotiate, okay? So if you're the family manager, don't think of yourself as the all-important, I get my way on everything person, because if you want to have a team, that team needs to have a say, okay? And God has put under the roof of your home different, unique people with different gifts. They have had different experiences, and you've got to, just like when you're selling a house, you don't always get the price that you want. You negotiate, and it's the same way about this is the way we're going to do things at our house. You need to talk about what was normal for you growing up about the holidays, and your spouse talk about what was normal for him or her. And then you need to come together and negotiate. Okay, I don't particularly like the way y'all did this, but I'm willing to do that if you'll do this. You negotiate in a positive way and come up with a plan that's about not me and what I did, what my family did, or what you did or your family did, but it's about what we are. It's about who we are as a family, okay? Then you need to have some SOPs. And standard operating procedures. That's what these are. You need to have some routines, some things that your family does that you say, this is the way we always do things. People waste so much time and they waste a lot of emotional energy because they don't have SOPs. If you didn't have standard operating procedures at the bank or the school or the store, or wherever you work, it would be chaos. And you need to have some SOPs at home, too. We'll talk more about that in a few minutes. And then I want to suggest that you manage your home, your family, your personal life, all of life. You manage by department. Picture with me walking into a bank or walking into a hospital or walking into, maybe you have a child that's thinking about attending LETU. If you walk into the lobby of any organization or company, what if the financial department and HR and food services and plant management, what if they were just all in a big mess in the lobby? It would be chaotic. And you know, at home, you will be able to manage so much better if you think of your home as an organization and manage it by departments. And maybe some of you are thinking right now, where did all this come from? Well, I'll tell you real quickly where this came from. When Bill Peel and I married 46 years ago, that's a long time, friends, I entered marriage very domestically challenged. I didn't know how to run a home. I didn't know how to be a wife. I didn't know how to be a mother someday. And I really wanted to be a godly wife, a godly mom. I wanted people to walk into our home and say, wow, this is a good place to be. And y'all, I didn't have a clue as to where to start. There wasn't much written about it back then. And so I started reading business management books. I'd been raised having to work in our family businesses. And so Peter Drucker, those of you who have been in business school, you'll recognize the father of modern management. Peter Drucker's books helped me more than anything. They showed me that, you know what, my home is an organization. And I can apply some of the same strategies that businesses and organizations apply to achieve success. I mean, not that you're trying to, or not that I wanted to turn my home into some cold corporate culture, but I wanted things to run smoothly. I wanted to have a way to think about things, okay? So let me talk about these departments, because every home, whether you're single, married, single again, empty nest, really full nest, it doesn't matter. You have to manage 7 departments of life, and here they are. The first one, you have to manage home and property. This is everything you own, all the belongings you have to take care of. Again, it doesn't matter how many people live under the roof of your home. Some of you have more to manage than others, but this is everything you own, from the floor to the laundry to the furniture, the cars. All of this stuff has to be kept, cleaned, managed, maintained. That is a big job. I had the privilege a number of years ago interviewing Dr. Juliet Schor, she's written a number of books now, and she's a professor. I believe she's still at Brown. She could be at Harvard now. But Dr. Juliet Schor wrote The Overworked American. So as I was interviewing her for an article, I learned something interesting. She'd done lots and lots of research. And I learned that there's one appliance that has actually saved us time as compared to 150 years ago. And when I throw that question out to a live audience, I'll say, what do you think it is? And some people will usually say, oh, the dishwasher, but lots of them will say, oh, the washing machine, definitely. Some will, will jokingly say, oh, my hairdryer. But the answer is the microwave. Now, I guessed that the appliance that has saved us the most time, remember, compared to 150 years ago, that appliance I thought would be the washing machine, because I thought, golly, I have to take all our clothes down to the river, wash them on a rock, and then, hang them out on the line. That would be very time consuming. But y'all, here's the deal. 150 years ago, kids did not change clothes 3 times a day. And they only took 1 bath a week, so they weren't using a different towel every time they took a bath or a shower. The deal is, the amount of time spent doing laundry has not changed in 150 years. I just throw that out to show you that this one department is a real big one that has to be managed, okay? The next department that somebody's got to manage is food and meals. If you have kids, you're in charge of 1,092 meals a year, not counting snacks and parties. Okay? That's a lot. Somebody's got to be in charge of the grocery shopping, making sack lunches, figuring out what's for dinner, menus, nutrition, who's allergic to what, all that. This is a big department. And just a little tidbit here. If you want to get in and out of the grocery store fast, the best day to go is Tuesdays. And I learned that from a grocery executive that I interviewed. And the reason is that's the slowest day for traffic and the food is fresher on Tuesdays. Isn't that interesting? Because the weekends are the busiest time and everything's been ransacked and taken. So they're restocking all day Monday and Monday night. So you'll get fresher food and the lines will be shorter on Tuesday. Just a little tip. Okay, the next department you have to manage is family and friends. These are the relationships in which you have responsibilities. You've got to keep up your end of the marriage. You may have an aging mom or father-in-law. You may have siblings. You've got kids to raise. You've got neighbors to keep up with and friends. These are all the people in your life that Peter Drucker would say, you don't manage people, you lead people. But there are a lot of tasks that have to be managed when it comes to family and friends. So all of those tasks go in this department. Then there are finances. Somebody's got to deal with paying the bills, budgeting, savings. What are we going to give to? What are we going to invest in? All the money issues. Teaching kids about money goes in there. Time and scheduling. Somebody's got to be in charge of getting the right people to the right place at the right time with the right equipment and making sure all your schedules coordinate. That's kind of a big deal right there. Then special events. Now, on top of all we've just talked about, okay, and that I think you're probably saying that, golly, this is a lot of work running this home. Then comes special events. Special events are occasions, holidays that have to be managed on top of everything else you're already managing. So right now, you are managing probably the biggest holidays of the year on top of everything else. And that's why you're wondering, that song, you think, well, this 'tis the season, why am I not jolly? And that's why, because you've taken on a lot of management responsibilities for this season on top of everything else you do. So again, a special event is a holiday, like a birthday party. Somebody's got to manage that. Family vacation, reunions, anything above and beyond your regular duties falls in this department. Last but not least, 7th department, caring for yourself. Because friends, if you don't care for yourself, spiritually, physically, emotionally, mentally, there's no way you can manage well the rest of the stuff. Now, does that make sense? Let me just say before I leave this slide that I have never met a person, and I've spoken about this all over the world to tens of thousands of people, okay? And I have never met a person who is proficient in every department, okay? There was only one perfect person, and that was Jesus. None of us is good at everything. We're not. But it's very important for you to know how God designed you. And you'll know that by looking at these departments and thinking, you know what? I really love to cook. I love food. I love the grocery store. That's going to be one of your strong departments then, okay? And you may be a people person, and relationships are just your thing. You could just spend hours. That may be a really strong department for you. Home and property. You may, some people, and I'm not one of them, some people love to clean. They just love to make things shine. Okay. Others, you love to, I like to decorate, but cleaning is not on the top of my list, right? But you know what? Somebody's got to clean. Finances. I've met people who they get such a kick out of balancing every account down to the penny. Others, you want to round things to the tens. You need to know what your strengths are and what your weakest departments are, because to manage wisely, you want to maximize your strengths and minimize your weaknesses, okay? And we're going to talk about how you can do that during the holidays. Now, next slide, I'm going to move to what you see in front of you. These are called daily hit lists. And I created these to save my sanity. And I'm talking to you today because I'm a reasonably sane person because of these daily hit lists. I'm going to talk later, if we have time, about the one on the left called the daily hit list. And that's how you run your life all year round, managing those 7 departments. But today, we're going to really focus on this holiday hit list because that's where you are right now. And I want you to download these at the Center for Faith and Work website. Print it off, and I want you to turn off all electronic devices and just think, okay, make a list in these categories. What do I need to do, or what do we need to do as far as home and decorations? Have we finished the tree? Do we need to get lights up in the front of the house? What's going to need to be cleaned before our neighborhood party that we're hosting, or before family comes for Christmas? What has to be cleaned? Do we need to excavate a room that we've been throwing things in for storage, and a guest is going to have to sleep in there? So write down everything you've got to do at your home during this season. Then, food and entertaining. What have you got to bake? What needs to be cooked? What do you need to get in the freezer? Write it down so you'll know. And when you start thinking in departments and in categories like this, it helps so much. Instead of having just a long list, as long as the string of lights on the White House. I mean, really, of just random things you've got to do. It helps so much to think in categories. So then, gifts and shopping. What do you need to buy? What do you need to shop for? What can you do online? Be wise about that. Then down here, first column at the bottom, giving and goodwill. You know, a lot of women and men have told me we sure would like to get our kids to focus on giving rather than getting. And that's a hard thing, right, parents? And so you need to be focused about this. You need to make a special effort in this. And so here's what I want to suggest is that one night really soon that you turn off all electronic devices, fix a good snack that everybody enjoys for Christmas, and talk about, okay, what do we want to give away this Christmas? Now, certainly you can talk about, what you want to give away money-wise, and let your kids be a part of that too. Let them know what you're giving to different charities or churches. But also, think about things that you can do together to give away Christmas to people. Can you go to a senior community home and decorate the room of a neighbor who moved there, or maybe a family member who lives there, or a church member who lives there? They would love that. When our boys were young, we adopted an older woman who was, she was, let's just say, below the poverty level. And so each Christmas we would go over and we would take her some presents. And she just loved it. And we would help her string lights on her house. She loved lights. And one year, Bill and the boys, they put that rubber insulation around her windows so her house would be warmer. Be alert. If God wants you to do that, He'll show you. I mean, He will bring somebody into your life. It might be adopting an international student for Christmas who's not going to get to go home. Invite them for your Christmas meal or to share Christmas with your family. Can't tell you what that's going to be for your family, but be alert for what God wants to do. Something else we've done in the past, you might want to volunteer at a homeless shelter, serve food together as a family, or maybe you have a food bank where you do the same kind of thing. Or you could bake goodies and take them as a family to the firefighters or the policemen on duty on Christmas Eve, or down to the ER, the hospital, where maybe you know somebody who's working. Y'all, there are people who are working Christmas Eve when we're going to wonderful candlelight services and we're having, special traditions as a family. Sit down and talk as a family about how you want to give away your Christmas so that your kids can focus on the things that you're going to give instead of just only what they're going to get, okay? Hopefully that'll help. All right, in that next column, family and friends. What do you need to do for family and friends? Okay, certainly you have some gifts or some cards to get out, maybe some notes to write, some neighbors to get to know. You'll know from your own life what you need to do. And then what are you going to do for yourself for personal renewal? Just help yourself stay focused on the season. I personally have a Christmas devotional book that I love. It is so sweet to get it out. And it's Bonhoeffer's Christmas devotional books. And they are memoirs, they're letters to his fiancée that he wrote from prison while he was during Christmas, and they are so precious, and they help me focus on what's important. Then we have a number of other Christmas books that we get out, and when the grandkids come, we'll get out the special Advent book that we read. But back to yourself, personal renewal. What are you going to do for yourself to just charge your spiritual batteries, keep those going? Because you're in a stressful time, but God has promised to provide us all we need to handle all the stress. What are you going to do physically? What are you going to do mentally? Just to learn and to think over Christmas when you have some extra time off of work. So there you go. That's the first D, as you see. What am I going to do? Now, the next word I want you to think about is, what can I delegate? Because you can't do this all. Or if you do, you're going to be crazy and stressed, and nobody's going to be happy with that, including you. So go through your list and think about, if you're married, talk as a couple about how you can divvy up some of these tasks, okay? And that might mean for some of you lowering your standards a little bit on some things. And it also means bringing your kids in to help. It is really important for your kids to have tasks around the house. And if we have time, we're going to talk about really getting your family into this mentality, because this is the perfect time of year, especially after Christmas, that week when the kids are out of school and you've probably got some extra time off of work. You've kind of got a more relaxed schedule. It is the perfect time for you to have a family meeting, and I'll talk to you about some ways to get your family on board for making 2018 your best year ever and working at it as a team, okay? First, before we get there, let's talk about just a few ways to manage the season. Let's talk about bartering, okay? Again, you cannot do everything yourself. So let's say if you are a great cook and you just love to bake, but banana breads, cranberry breads, all that, think about what you are dreading. Maybe you're not a good package wrapper. Maybe you need some help with decorations. Maybe you need somebody to run errands for you. It could be any number of things. But bartering is a very smart thing to do. Say, hey, you could do it this way. If you have a friend, just say, hey, listen, you know what? Let's set aside one afternoon. I'll come over to your house and I'll help you get a bunch of stuff baked in the freezer for all those people that are coming. We'll work together, and in exchange, you come over to my house and help me get ready for, cleaning up for company. Now, this takes humility. True, it does take humility to admit you're not good at everything. But you know what? That's where smart management starts. Just being able to say, hey, you know what? God gifted me to do some things well. And there are ways that I can serve other people, and there are ways that they can serve me, and we can help each other live more wisely and less stressfully this season. So barter with people, okay? Set up, if you don't already have it, set up your gift wrap center. Just get it all in one place, okay? Have a team declutter routine, all right? Now, this is good. I'm going to tell you, this is one of a family manager's strategy that works really well. And if you haven't had a chance or you're not into the family manager system yet, I'm just going to tell you this. It's called the 7-minute nightly sprint. And typically you introduce this to your family at a family meeting. But here's the deal. At family meetings, in your home every night, who wants to pick up clutter? Does anybody at your home just love to say, oh, please, please let me pick up clutter? Usually there are not too many people that want to do that. But if you set and do what's called, we call the 7-minute nightly sprint, and you turn on the kitchen timer for 7 minutes, turn off all electronic devices, and I think peppy music helps energize people, and everybody picks up their belongings, you fluff the sofa pillows, you take out the garbage, you put the last dishes in the dishwasher. You know what? If you do that every night, 7 minutes, I got to tell you, it really helps keep up with just the clutter that accumulates. And if you've been picking it all up yourself and you're kind of feeling resentful about that, you need to try this, okay? And later on we'll talk about what if my kids, or what if they don't want to cooperate? Okay, we're going to get to that. Let's talk about real quickly the power of 5 and 10, and that means the power of 5 and 10 minutes. A lot of people think, oh, I just don't have a large block of time to clean out the refrigerator or to excavate the closet or whatever the big task is, and you're waiting for that big block of time. And if you've got an infant or you've got lots of kids going here and there, or if you're working 2 or 3 jobs or going to school and working jobs and doing all of the above, you know what? It may be a long time before you have a block of time. And so, but there are so many things that you can do, grabbing 5 minutes here and 10 minutes there. You'd be surprised of what you can do. You can't dust your entire house, but you can get out that duster and go dust a couple of rooms. You can't clean the bathroom, but you can clean the mirror and wipe down the fixtures. You can't vacuum the whole house, but you can maybe vacuum 1 room or 2. And you know what? And if you do this, or you get your family in this 5 and 10 minute mindset, you will be thrilled with how much you can get accomplished, really. You need to know, okay, no matter what you think. What does that mean? I can't tell you what these are for you, but you yourself need to know your no matter what. It's like, no matter what happens this holiday season, if we, lose electricity, if we have extra guests, if, that family member that's hard to get along with becomes really obnoxious, if somebody gets sick, whatever happens, no matter what are your no matter what? Maybe it might be, no matter what, I am going to spend time with God. I'm going to pray. No matter what, I'm going to take my vitamins. I mean, we're eating a lot. No matter what, I'm just going to take my vitamins. No matter what, I'm going to drink water. You may not have time for an exercise routine, but you need to decide what are your no matter what for this season and really all year round when all hell breaks loose. And that we live in a fallen world. So a lot of things can happen, and you need to just have a few things that are your personal routines that just keep you anchored in who you are as a child of God and in your purpose and taking on the assignments and the hard things that come into your life. And then your thank yous and can do's. Now, what this means is, now, I should have looked this up because I've forgotten the number of how many times in the Bible it tells us to give thanks, but it's a lot. And y'all, just if you're in a bad mood, if you're feeling resentful, if you're feeling overwhelmed, and you're just driving down the street thinking, I don't know how I'm going to do all this, just being obedient and saying, okay, God, you told me to be thankful, so I'm going to be obedient. Thank you that I'm driving a car. Thank you that the roads are paved. I mean, sometimes you just have to start looking. Thank you that we have hot water today. Thank you that we had breakfast this morning. And you start, there are a lot of little things to being all around us that we can be thankful for. And our enemy, the devil, does not want us to be thankful. And he uses the same strategy that he used on Adam and Eve in the garden. He got them to take their eyes off of all their blessings and to concentrate on that one thing they couldn't have in the middle of the garden. And that's exactly the way he works with us today. And he works especially hard on us today during this season when we start focusing on what we can't buy or what we can't have or what our spouse isn't doing or what that, obnoxious relative is going to do or not do. There are a lot of things we can be thankful for, okay? A lot of things we can do, all right? So we got to keep this moving along. But I want to talk a minute about how to make 2018 your best year ever because you've got time, all right? After Christmas, I want to talk a minute about your family meeting that you need to schedule sometime before the kids go back to school. You need to schedule it at a time at night. I mean, be smart about this. Don't schedule it during, something else big that's going on, but make it a non-optional meeting, okay? A non-optional meeting. And, have some good food, all right? Because food always brings people together. Now, at this meeting, here's what you need to do. When you're gathered around the table and your kids are rolling their eyes thinking, what is going on? What is all of this about? Ideally, you and your spouse will talk about this beforehand, but even if you don't, you can do this. I want you to look each person in your family, everybody who lives under the roof of your home. I want you to look them in the eye and say, what would make home a good place for you? And that's the question, okay? And don't be scared. Don't be scared to ask because you want to know what they think. Really, you need to know what they think. But if you want to build a team, you really do need to know what they think because they need to, they need to have a say in what makes a happy home. And y'all have to come up with your own definition of what makes your home a good place to be. Yeah, sometimes parents will say, I don't know if I want to hear what my teenagers will say. Listen, just trust me on this. If you have, a teenage boy, he might say something like, well, I'll tell you what, Mom or Dad, I'll tell you what would make home a great place to be if I just knew that I could, bring some of the guys home after school and there would always be, some snacks for us to have. That would be cool. That would really, really be cool. And if you just wouldn't, get on my case every morning, especially those mornings I have to be at school at those early practices or labs or swim practice or whatever it is. If you just get off my case, there are going to be some days that I can't make my bed. Just get off my case. And you might need to put duct tape over your mouth, okay? Because you need to not say anything. You just need to be listening to what they are saying. But they're not going to say a lot, probably because A, they haven't thought about this question, and B, they don't want this to be a long meeting, okay? But you need to hear what everybody else says, listen to them without commenting, and then when it gets back around to you, you get to say what would make home a great place to be for you. And I'm putting words in your mouth, but I've met enough people around the world to know that typically moms and dads want to get kids to help. You want to build a team, and really, this is what God wants you. God wants you to help each other flourish. He wants you to help each other become all that He's created you to be, okay? And you need to work as a team like this. So in this meeting, you're going to need to communicate what every person communicates, what would make home a good place to be, and then you're going to negotiate some things. And I should tell you, before this meeting, I want you to go to the Faith and Work website for LeTourneau University, because LeTourneau is all about faith and work. And if you're on this webinar, you probably know that. But it is, so wonderful how the staff, the faculty, everybody at LeTourneau, the heritage, the legacy is understanding that all of our work, no matter what kind of work, whether we're diapering a baby or we're running a board in top of a building or closing a deal, all work matters to God, okay? And at your house, you need to communicate and negotiate who's going to do what, who's responsible for what. And there is a document that you can download, and it has a list of tasks in each of those 7 departments that somebody needs to do for you to have some modicum of order and sanitation in your home, okay? And when it's your turn to say, I'll tell you what would make home a great place to be, is if we could talk about who's going to do jobs on this list. And y'all, this is a 4-page list, because there's a lot of work to keeping a home running smoothly and having some modicum of order and sanitation. And you need to come up with and negotiate your family's definition of clean. I cannot tell you this, but some of you, the way God's designed you, you are neat by nature. You cannot stand clutter. That's just the way God's designed you. And it is highly likely that you live with people who God has designed who are just kind of freer thinkers and clutter doesn't bother them, okay? You may be a more linear thinker. They may be more the creative, flexible type, although we are all creative. But here's the deal. Nobody gets their way. In a family, if you want to build a team, you've got to negotiate. And so if you're the neatnik, and if you want your family to be a happy place for everybody, you're going to have to lower your standards a little bit, okay? I worked with a woman one time in one of our Oprah makeovers. She vacuumed twice a day. And if her husband was not home at 6 o'clock sharp, he missed dinner. And her kids have had to put up their toys. She had 3 kids, 2, 4, and 6. They had to have every toy picked up every afternoon by a certain time. Probably it was late in the afternoon, 5 o'clock. Now, what if your child is in the middle of building a Lego project or an art project? You've got to be able to live with stuff like that if you're a neatnik. Now, if you're on the other side, okay, and you think, oh, amen to all of what you're saying. Now listen, if you're the sloppy one, then you need to be sensitive to the way God has created the neat people. And a way that you all can maybe negotiate this is there need to be certain places in your home that are clutter-free zones, okay? But creative people get to have their places where they can keep their stuff and do their thing, all right? Whether it's their bedroom, a closet, you just designate a certain, corner in the family room. But you've got to I know you're smart people listening to this, so I don't need to be this specific, but you negotiate, okay, so that home is a good place for everyone. And here's the name of that form that I want you to download, the 4-page, who's responsible for what. You need to talk that through. And believe me, when your family sees this, they're going to go, whoa, because they didn't know that it took so much to run a home. And even this season, when they see all that it takes and what it took to do Christmas. It's going to help them appreciate what it takes to run a home, and it's going to give them life skills, important life skills too. Okay. Now, okay, I finished there. We've got a few minutes, and I've got about 2 hours of content left, and we can't, of course, do that, but we can go to a few questions. And I'm going to turn on my technology and see if this is going to work.
You're good, Kathy. We can see your great face, and oh my
Okay.
goodness, thank you so much for those slides. That was amazing. A lot of great stuff there. Wanted to give some time for some of our viewers to ask some good questions. So if you guys do have any questions, please put them on the chat bar. I do have a couple already. We'll go ahead and get started with those until some new ones roll in. So Kathy, one of our viewers wants to know, what if my kids won't cooperate with what I need them to do in order to get ready for Christmas?
Okay, well, whatever the task, okay, whether it's a getting ready for Christmas task or just a household daily task, here's the deal. Once you assign chores, okay, in age-appropriate ways, you need to, your kids need to know that there's no wiggle room on that, okay? As a parent, I used to, well, when we were raising kids, I had the 4 F words for parenting. First of all, you need to be fair and not expect a 5-year-old to do something that's above his or her age levels. You need to be fair. You need to be fun. Okay, you need to be a fun parent because you need to fill up your kids' emotional tanks because you've got to say no a lot. But you need to be firm, okay? And if you have, if you've tasked a child with folding laundry or picking up or putting the dishes in the dishwasher, taking out the trash, and you come home and it's not done, whatever it is, you need to look at that child, okay? You need to, in the eyes, and say, I love you. I love you. And because you have not cooperated, this is going to happen. You need to follow through. You're the parent. You need to follow through. You need to decide what are the consequences, okay? So for a teen, it might mean, give me your iPad, give me the car keys, and you've got to stand firm, okay? For a younger child, if you task a 3-year-old, say, I need you to pick up this particular toy, and they don't do it, that toy goes to clutter jail, okay? And that needs to be some kind of a basket, ideally one of those milk, those plastic milk crates that you can see through, because they don't get to play with that toy for like, you choose 48 hours, and it needs to be up someplace high where they can't get it. But you have to follow through, but you have to say, not in anger, but you know what, Elizabeth or Jacob or whoever your child is, I love you. God has given me the great privilege of parenting you, and you have to do your responsibilities, or you don't get the privileges. And here's the deal. We're raising a nation full of kids who get privileges without fulfilling their responsibilities. And that's going to be a big problem. When they enter the workforce, they're not going to have the privilege of getting a paycheck if they're not used to fulfilling responsibilities. So you're teaching them an important life skill. So stand firm. You're the parent. Right. Okay.
Absolutely. Well, awesome. Okay, so I have a really good one right here. It says, my husband and I have different expectations about celebrating Christmas, which always causes problems. What can we do to resolve that and have a great holiday season?
Yeah. It's important. Again, this needs to be one of those moments when you can have an adult conversation, either after the kids are bed, or you might want to barter with another family and say, hey, we'll watch your kids one night. We need to go out to dinner and talk. And, we'll share the favor of babysitting. You need to be alone and just not distracted and talk about what is normal to you. You know, we get married and we all come into marriage with different definition of what's normal. What's normal about celebrating the home? What's normal about eating dinner? What's normal about this and that? All those departments. You have way of thinking, well, this is normal because this is the way we did it. And you need to talk about that and realize that God's put you together as a we, not me and me, but we, and be willing to say, okay, I'll do this because this is important to you. Will you do this because this is important to me? I mean, it's about learning to serve each other, learning to love each other over the years. And for those of you all listening, if you haven't been married for very long, Bill and I are, 46 years, and right, and we'll both admit maybe 36 have been happily married. Some of them are just, trying to get through it, right? You've got to be willing to appreciate the fact that God has put you with a person with different gifts, different experiences, and you'll be working on this for your entire life, okay? But it's worth it. It is worth it, and it's good.
Well, let me just add there that Kathy and I probably had really different expectations about holidays. And she grew up in a family where Christmas was a huge, big celebration. And we celebrated in my family, but not extensively. Okay, let's put it that way. And it's very important that you sit down and do talk about these things and kind of hopefully come up with some middle ground here, but then also really understand and talk about why these different things are important to the other person. And then a lot of times you want to make room for that. So, okay, we spend a lot of time decorating the house. That's really important to Kathy. So important to me. But I want to make sure that Kathy has the privilege of doing that in our home, and so to continually fuss and gripe about this, that's not helpful at all, is it, Kathy? And
not at all.
So it's something we do for each other out of love. We serve each other in love for those things that, okay, this is not the way I do it, but I want to use this as an opportunity to say I love you to the other person, and let them have their way on certain things, and then hopefully sometimes they'll want to let you have your way on other things.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. When Christmas can get so overwhelming to some people, and you think, I'm just going to skip it altogether. I mean, let's just don't do it. Two things. God loves celebrations. They're throughout the Bible. Okay? He taught his children in Israel about celebrating. They celebrated after they built the wall around Jerusalem in Nehemiah. The angels and shepherds celebrated Jesus' birth. So celebrations are an important part of life. And then, second, what was my second point? Honey, can you read my mind now? What was my second point? It'll come. Mm-hmm. One of the questions. Did you get any more questions, Megan?
Yes. So actually, Hawk in Georgia would like to know, what are your tips for celebrating Christmas away from your home once you've established that kind of joining of traditions for you and your husband? Now you're going into an environment where it could be completely different. It could be not valued as much by the people that are hosting you. So what are your tips for celebrating Christmas away from the home?
Perfect. Thank you, because that was what I was going to mention next. Thank you.
Oh, good.
It's about your traditions are important. Now, if you're in someone else's home, you can't fulfill all those traditions. Or if you're maybe serving as a missionary in a foreign country, you can't do things quite like it, okay? But there need to be some things that your kids grow up saying, this is the way we always do it. This is our family tradition. It may just be 2 or 3 things sometimes when you're not in your own home. This is something we always do because that gives a child a sense of security to be able to say, this is the way we always do it. Traditions are important.
Awesome. Okay, last question. We have about 2 minutes here. How can I get my family to buy into making changes in the new year so that our home will be a happier, comfortable place for all of us to be?
Well, again, back to that family meeting where you're going to serve something good to eat. You're going to turn off all electronic devices, and you're going to listen to what comes to their mind about what makes home a good place to be. And then you're going to talk about how you can work together to make your home a good place to be. What needs to be negotiated there. Kids need to grow up knowing that they are just as valuable. A child's career is school, okay? And so you want build a family team. Each team member needs to know, okay, I'm a valuable person. Okay. What that means is that their work, you're going to help that child do his assigned work for that period in life by having school supplies on hand, making sure that they're going to the teachers' meetings, whatever you need to do to help that child know that school is their career right now. And it's important. And it's just as important as mom's career or dad's career. So at our house, what would happen if, say, a child had a science fair project or a big paper or book report? You know what? We would cut them slack on chores. Let me cover for you on that because I know you're under the pile. And then you don't feel bad about it. When I was on, if I had a big deadline, magazine article or something, I didn't feel bad about asking for some additional help. Point is, everybody needs to feel valued. Uniquely valued because every person is uniquely designed. We're all different, and God's put us under the same roof to help each other do the will of God, flourish, and become all that He created us to be.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Kathy. We are out of time here. We are so grateful for your insights and your years of experience. I know that a lot of our viewers are going to be supremely blessed for that. For all of you guys out there, please make sure to leave your comments. We'd love your feedback. Was this valuable to you? Was it encouraging to you? And then after the holidays, we'd love to hear back from you again. Did some of these things help? What helped the most? Any feedback we can get always helps us to provide content that is relevant to you and helpful to you. We are having another webinar. It will be mid-January. We're going to put some more information on our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for, if you will look up Center for Faith and Work. You can check back there for our next dates. We're also going to have this webinar recorded so we can post the link probably by Friday at the latest. That way, if some of your friends missed it, you can send them the link and say, hey, check this out. So thank you again, Bill and Kathy. We're super grateful that you guys were here today. And we hope everybody has a wonderful, a safe, and really a very peaceful holiday season. Thank you guys, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Megan.